Hi, Ashley Johnson here. I wanted to talk today about doing a more productive warm-up in competition. As you probably know, warming up in competition, there are a lot more distractions than when you're warming up at home. There's a lot more pressure, there can be noises, there can be other horses that you're not used to. You might be just nervous because of competition stress. So there are a lot of factors that can play into warming up in competition that differ from warming up at home. So we're going to break this into 3 steps. The first step is think about your warm-up at home. Ride your warm-up at home. Develop a process for how you warm up at home. Think about what you do when you come out, and it can be for dressage, for show jumping, or for cross country. Think about the consistent process that you do with your horse every day when you're not under pressure, and analyze it and see what works for you and for your horse. You might have certain techniques that always work or always help you relax, and you want to know what those techniques are. And you also want to tune into the feel when you get something right. So when you're doing something and you just have flow and it just works and you feel good and you know that your horse is happy and you're happy, I want you to mentally make a note of that and visualize it so that when you're under pressure you can utilize that. The other thing that you can do is you can start to think about the types of exercises that are difficult for you and your horse and practice those the week before the show. Don't think about over practicing those in the warm-up. Those are good opportunities to do things at home when it doesn't matter so much if you mess it up, and you can do it over if you mess it up. The second step is at the show, when you're in competition and you're warming up. It's a really good idea to think about that situation as a challenge, because a lot of people find it threatening, they find it nerve-wracking, and if you think of the situation as nerve-wracking, then you're going to be nervous. If you think of it as a challenge, like, okay, we have a show, we're about to go in the ring, my challenge is to warm my horse up well, then that mindset is going to make you more open to finding solutions to anything that might be going wrong, and it's going to put you in a better mood. And as we all know, our horses are in better moods when we're in better moods. The other thing with that is, say you have this difficult thing. For example, my horse Gucci had a very hard time learning flying changes. So when I was at home, I would just practice them very minimally unless I was in a lesson when I had help. And then when I was at home, I would just practice it, and if he did 1 or 2 well, I would leave it for the day. So that was an item that I didn't practice that. I didn't over practice that in a warm-up in competition because there was too much pressure involved. So on the day of competition, if I knew he was struggling with something, maybe I would do it once, but then I would leave it and I would do all of the other things that I knew that we could do well, and so that we were relaxed and ready to perform when we went in the ring. So focus on your strengths, focus on the feel and the flow of when things are going well, and go back to the system that you created at home and methodically ride that system, and be patient. Don't feel rushed. Don't feel like, oh my gosh, there's all this other stuff going on. Just be patient with yourself. Take a breath if you think that you're getting a little bit riled up, and say, okay, that transition wasn't what I wanted. I'm just going to do it again. And breathe in, breathe out. Think about the flow that you created at home. Think about your process at home. Visualize what you do when you're not under pressure and put yourself in that situation. And then go from there in the warm-up when there's a lot of atmosphere going on. You have to create your own bubble in a competition warm-up. The third thing that I do is I use a grounding technique before I go in the ring. And a grounding technique is bringing you down to reality. So what I do is I pet my horse's neck when I'm waiting to go into the ring. I will just take a breath. I usually look at my horse's ears, and because that's my connection to them when I'm sitting on top of them, I look at their ears and I pet their neck, and I think about what a lucky person I am to be sitting on top of this horse that's about to carry me around in the competition. So that's the grounding technique that I use right before I go in the ring, and that just calms my heart rate and it brings me back to the moment and the connection that we have with our horses, so that everything else around can just disappear. Anyway, I hope that helped. Good luck in competition.